the first episode of Against the Grain. I got a very good buddy of mine to help me set the tone. This is going to be a little bit different than most golf podcasts. It's going to be a little bit uncensored, unfiltered, against the grain, obviously. And we're going to talk about some things you might not get anywhere else. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is George Roy. I'm a professional instructor. I've been involved in professional golf since about 2010. Became Class A PGA at the end of 2013. Met this guy very early along in that career online and hit it off with him. And we've always had very, very good synergy in terms of how we look at instruction, how we look at skill development, how we look at life. And one of the big reasons I've had him on today is because he does have his hands on a lot of different things that I have my hands in. And I know that he's had to learn a lot of different skills. And he's just a good dude. I know we're going to get unfiltered truth out of this guy. As you can see from the hat. So yeah, we won't send him down any rabbit holes today, but we'll go ahead and bust out some good golf instruction talk, man. First of all, how the hell are you? It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a couple years. I guess we were at the show after I met you and your team. I guess that was 2018. Yep. So yeah. I haven't seen you. Oh no, we worked a VGA thing together.
Yeah,
that was after that.
Yeah,
after that. Tell us a little bit about yourself real quick, and then I'll tell a funny story that'll get us about that event.
So I mean, my name is Michael Michaelides. I've been a pro golfer or golf professional. I don't even know which one you want to call it. For 23 years, I've done, teaching. I've been a head pro, been an assistant pro. Bounced around in mini tours. Coached Division I college golf for 15 years. Done long drive for like a dozen. So yeah, I mean, I started with Nick Chertok and Chris Como, the open forum at the PGA show, did that where, that quickly became like the premier kind of educational event at the PGA show, which we're going to do this year again.
Hey, real quick, before you go on any further, I just want to let you know I jumped back into the golf teaching professionals group on Facebook, and you are missed over there, buddy. Let me tell you, I wish you were.
Yeah, I know. Well, I haven't been. My Facebook's pretty much disabled.
That's what they do.
Yeah, I mean it. So it just got to a point. The other thing too is like, so you have to understand, like, you and I think alike, right? So the thing is all the groups I moderated. So I used to moderate golf teaching professionals, golf biomechanists, golf, I think it was like products or something like that. And all these groups of like, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 members, whatever it is. And then another one that I started with Blonder and a couple others. And the problem is like, so I said, my moderation style is pretty easy. Unless there is a direct threat of like violence.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not taking anything down. You're all adults. You're all responsible for your own words. Like, if you don't like it, don't say it. And if you want to apologize, and that's fine. And so I would get messages pop up and they're like, you got to take this down. I'm like, I'm not taking anything down.
Right.
And, I'm like, y'all are big boys and big girls. Like, you can figure this out. Right. And to be fair, that's kind of how open forums started. Like, because, so you're seeing me now and, we've met, right? So I'm not the smallest guy in the world, so at just over 6'4", like 270. And I mean, I'm built, I'm not like, right. So
yeah, I'm 6'1" and 200 pounds and you like tower over me, bro. So
right. So I was like, so I would get into these conversations and over, online, right? And people would be like kind of mouthing off, and I'm like, I damn well guarantee that if I'm standing in front of you, like your tone is going to change real fast. Like if there's not a computer screen between you and I, that's going to go away real freaking quick.
Right. And I got you on here, man, because like we have entered a world, and it's not just golf, it's everything. We're like, if you step outside of the box, the mainstream thinking, then like you're vilified, you're an idiot, you're whatever. You're a tinfoil hat wearing,
I mean, I wear this out. Bro. You got to see, like, when I go into like a city, okay, because I'm in like, so where I am now, because I know I used to be in New York, like in the city.
Right.
And now I'm upstate, but like the town I'm in, like there's not even a traffic light, bro. Like there's a feed store, right? And there's a general store, and like that's about it. Okay. So I'm in when I say I'm in the sticks, like I'm in the sticks. Okay.
Right. It's awesome.
But like even in
It's amazing.
right, which is great. But like in New York, like when I go down to the city, right, to like go visit family or go do something, and I'm wearing like my tinfoil hat, like it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like just the, the looks from, like the Branch Covidians, like that they freaking think, it's just freaking great. So
A buddy of mine told me the other day they're not called conspiracy theories anymore. They're called spoiler alerts.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. Like you know, if I don't really care, I don't really care what side of the fence somebody's leaning politically. Okay. And I don't really care
Or
about
logically.
anything. Right. Ideologically, like I don't care. I said, here's the two things that I kind of live by, which I guess hence the shirt also, obviously, right? Is, so my favorite book of all time, like is Atlas Shrugged, right? That's like my absolute favorite book.
It's
Okay.
good.
And we're living it. Like we're literally living it. Okay. Like if anybody reads that book, which was written as a warning, okay, against progressive collectivism and like world governments and stuff like that. Literally, we're living it. Okay. So instead of it being a warning, it turned out to like literally just be a prophecy, right? Which is really weird. But so the John Galt's quote in that book where he says, I swear by my life and my love of it that I will never live for the sake of another man, nor ask another man to live for mine.
Right.
I actually have that. I have a wood guy here who's making me a plaque, a wood plaque with that quote, with Atlas, and then above Atlas, instead of holding the world, he's holding the Reardon Steel logo. Right. So that's going out by the front door, like literally. So to enter my house, like, okay. And the other thing for me is very simple is, and when it comes to, it doesn't matter government or anything. It's like, if it's not voluntary, it's tyranny. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Right. So in this world, like people don't realize they don't, I live my life where I have no contradictions in my life. Okay. I have no contradictions in my thinking. Okay. And the funny part is people, 99% of people live with contradictions. It's just how far they're willing to go that let that denial go, right?
Right.
And that's the thing, right? So it's like, it's I don't want you to tell me what to do with whatever, take your pick. It doesn't matter what the topic is. But then if they're passionate about something, they want to tell you what to do, right?
Right.
And it's like crazy. It's like, how do you not understand and how do you not see this, this thing? And it's very, very strange times to
Sure.
be
Sure it
fair.
is. Well, you know what? It actually, and I know you're talking life and politics, and I get that. And it actually is a perfect analogy for what we're seeing in golf. You and I kind of had a little
Oh,
talk beforehand. You know what I mean? And it all comes down to freedom. Okay. And the way that I look
right.
at it is, if you're, when you're coaching, you're trying to keep that player in a creative state, right? You're allowing them to tap into their individual intuitive nature. Okay. When you're
Hopefully.
coming at it from an instructional standpoint, it's in a box. You got to be in this box. And what
Yep.
happens is when you get into this logical, analytical mindset, it robs you of that creative ability, man. That way, that intuitive nature
Yeah.
that you have as a player. I've
Yeah.
seen it from my own golf experience. You know what I mean? We both played a ton of different sports growing up. You were talking about this in the pre-call.
Yeah.
Golf is the only sport where it's technical, 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 technical. And then we get into the skill development side of it. And my approach has always been, well, let's let them explore a little bit. Let's get into the skill development side a little bit. And that technical development comes as it's subsequent to the skill development.
Yeah.
Adam Young, we both know Adam Young.
Yep.
His practice manual is a great book. He talks,
Yeah.
what is his terminology is, I think, self-discovery. Okay.
Right.
I think that's what he talks about. And that's
Yep.
kind of where I'm at, man. Like, we have this mindset that exploration is only for the very introductory players. Okay, that's
Yeah,
when
no.
that's the exploratory stage. You got to be the more elite you get, the more exploratory you should be in your game, because that exploration is what's going to give you your, help you set your boundaries as a player and know what abilities you have and what your constraints are physically, mentally, whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, think of it this way, right? So think of it this way, like for something like that, right? So when you're watching, because again, I've coached, D1 college players, mini tour players. I've been fortunate enough to work for pros where behind the scenes we get tour players coming in and stuff like that. So here's the funny thing, right? And so in coaching, two things I've seen very prevalent. Okay. So when I coached the men's team and the women's team, okay, when they would be on their own practicing, okay, you're seeing two very different things. What I mean by that is like, so let's say we go to the short game area, okay, the guys immediately, okay, the higher elite player, whatever, man, they switch on and they're like this. They're taking their golf ball and they're throwing it in fescue, or they're slamming it into the bunker, or they're like, hey, I bet you I can get it closer out of this shit lie, or I bet you I could do this, or like, you think I can hit this backwards off this hill? Yeah, I think I can. Bam, and they're doing this, so they're just grabbing one or two balls, right? And they're just tossing it around, and they're going, hey, watch me hit this way. Watch, I'm going to take my right-handed wedge and chip it lefty, right, or whatever. So they're doing all this stuff, right, to stimulate the practice. Now, the women's team, they will drop a dozen balls in one spot and they will hit a shot, rake it over, hit a shot, rake it over, hit a shot. And, they're much more technical on that side, right? Now, take the tours. Okay. So I always tell guys, I'm like, the average golfer, I'm like, you want to get better? I said, you should be looking at the ladies tour. I said, the ladies tour, number one, the numbers match far closer to the average golfer. But also, not only that, the ladies generally have to be technically better. Okay. They have to be more efficient, right? So Bubba Watson, his swing is not ideal, but it's great for him and he makes it work. Now, in theory, okay, if he didn't hit
are you speaking from your viewpoint, or are you speaking from the average coach's mind point when you say it's not ideal? Because my perception of what's ideal is I don't give a shit with like Furyk.
Right.
Mr. 55 or 58, 59. He's the only guy that's ever done it in tournament rounds.
Right. No, I'm talking about from like the average coaches.
Right.
Like
Okay.
they're
I just
right.
wanted to clarify.
Right. So
you and I know it's about proximity to hole. I don't
yeah,
give a
like
shit what it
well,
looks like. If you're
that's the
throwing
thing,
darts,
right?
you're throwing darts.
Right. Well, that's where I was going with it. So like these guys are like, they're saying, well, that's not ideal, right? So if he eliminated that 40-yard slice and let's say he had a 10-yard draw, could he hit it further? Maybe, maybe not. Could he be more accurate? Maybe, maybe not. Right. Me personally, I doubt it on the accuracy part because he knows where it's going. Now, he can get away with that because he's strong, right? So a guy can have that power leak, okay, let's say, right? Because like as a long driver, that you're not going to do for power, okay? But for control on the course, okay, he makes it work and he knows where it's going. So I'm looking at it, and the average golfer who's going, I want to make more power, right? Well, you're probably not going to look at that for that, for that particular skill set with the average golfer. Okay. Because that maybe he could pick up a few yards, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
It just doesn't matter for him. Right. But now can like one of the girls do that and afford to give up that 10 yards? Probably not. They need to be more efficient. I mean, if you look across the board from a just biomechanically efficient standpoint, okay, the ladies tour across the board is just more efficient. Yeah. Okay. In their swing, they're getting pound for pound more out of their, golf ball. Right. But again, it's physiologically, the guys don't have to worry about it. Right. Anatomically, on average, guys are upper body is 40% stronger than females. Exactly. So, so now, okay. But then again, ladies are generally more stable. Right. They're, so
because of that physiology, that lower body strength.
Exactly.
They're built around that lower body strength.
So now
that's what men don't have.
Right. So now
all upper body, we have no center of mass control. We have no balance.
Exactly. Yeah. So before you asked me, like, how old I was, right? We're like kind of reminiscing. So I'm going to be 45 in January. So 45 is the seniors, Although they don't say seniors now because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So masters division for long drive, right?
Right.
So I decided, I said, listen, I want to go do this, right? I said, I want to, really make a serious run at it because, the last like 2, 3, 4 years, like guys are like, well, you're not really competing in long drive. I'm like, yeah, I'm not because like Kyle and Martin are crushing it. Like if my ball speed is 205 to 210 and he's coming up at 230, it doesn't really matter. Like it just doesn't matter. I'm not going to win. So, now when I do charity events and when I do trick shot shows and stuff like that, does it dazzle the crowd? Yeah, of course it does, right? But Kyle's just on another level. Martin's on another level. Chris Coy's on another level, right? All these guys. So, but I think you remember Chris Welsh, who's a biomechanics guy. So Chris and I, Chris was like, dude, I've been wanting to train you for a while. And I said, okay. And, Chris is one of the smartest dudes I've ever met. And he's been, he works at like the New York Yankees and some other kind of organizations, again, across multiple sports, right? So, we did a little thing where he set up and measured my swing, right? And he goes, before I go into this, right? He goes, what do you think you need to work on? I said, I can tell you exactly what I need to work on. I said, and you tell me if I'm correct. I said, so from an efficiency standpoint, I probably think I'm about maxed out as efficient as I can get. I said, I'm probably 97% plus efficiency. I said, however, I said, I can tell you that even at somebody that does hit occasional 400-yard drives and does hit 370, 380, like whatever. I said, I can tell you, I have probably 2 or 3 power leaks. And he's like, what do you think they are? I said, I can tell you what it is. I said, it's my stability. I said, hands down, my stability is shit. I said, my bracing or whatever you want, anchoring, whatever you want to call it for deceleration for the links up the chain. Okay. I said, is needs work. I said my hip flexor is horrible, hamstrings horrible. I said,
That's old man problems, though, man.
yeah.
You
Well,
gotta get
and
into yoga.
well, that's the thing. So right. Well, we were going through it, and he's like, so he's doing this thing, and he's like, yeah, you're actually spot on. This is what my analysis is. And I said,
Cool.
Chris, I know. I was like, listen, I know biomechanics. You know biomechanics. I said, I am under no delusion where my shortcomings are with certain things. I said, again, I make up for that stuff with efficiency. Okay. And I am maxing out what I can get.
Right.
But that's not going to win me a world title. So, and again, it's just guys, right? It's just that's just how it is. Again, I saw it, hundreds of athletes. Okay. And again, it's just this is what it is. It's like, okay, fine. So, but people, coaches or instructors, which that was another kind of pet peeve of mine always. People are like, I'm a coach. I'm like, you're not really a coach. You're an instructor.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
actually one of our questions here. And actually, you brought up a point a minute ago that reminded me about my VGA story that I wanted to tell you
Go ahead.
because we're doing the long drive shit, right? You remember our buddy Aaron with VGA, Aaron
Yep.
Ojard?
Yeah.
Okay, so he hits me up on the phone. He's like, "Hey man, you're gonna be down at Florida." I think it was actually during the PGA show, right?
Right.
I was like, "Yeah, man, like I'm in. You need some pro to make you money. Like I'm in." Like thinking I'm always the long drive guy.
Right.
When guys call me, I go and beat it. That's what I do, right? So we had just had
So
my
you
daughter,
think?
right? Yeah. We had just had my daughter, right? So I wasn't playing any golf, and I get there, and he tells me, "Oh, you're not doing long drive." I was like, "Well, who you got out here doing long drive?" He goes, "We got the beard." I was like, "Oh shit." So they stick me on the very last par 4 or par 3 for beat the pro. I think I made like $200. You know what I
Right.
mean? Everybody had already blown all their money playing against you, and the other
Yeah.
3 beat the pro holes. So I just, oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That was during PGA show. That was yeah, I remember that actually very well. I mean, that was fun. I mean, I still talk to Aaron. When Aaron and I met, shoot, it was
he's
so
a
funny.
goofy guy, dude. I love him to death, but he's fun, man.
Oh, he is. So the story, I don't know if he ever told you the story. So I was coaching at LIU and we were playing in they were doing some benefit. I think at the time it was Till Duty Is Done. And the guys had invited me because they were doing UConn's events. They invited me to come up. So for their I guess, dinner before, the night before, gala, I don't know. And so my girl and I go, and Dave Pizzino, the UConn coach, is there. Now, Dave, very clean cut, used to work for Mike Small, great coach at UConn, awesome coach, awesome guy. And he's like baby face. Like if he didn't shave for 10 years, he might have a half a mustache.
Right.
Okay. And so he's sitting there and he's in his suit, right? So Dave looks at me, shaved head, beard, just like this, right? And he looks at me, he goes, man, he goes, you better be careful. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, man, there's a lot of guys here, like special ops guys. And, you look like, a guy like from the Middle East, right? And I go, Dave, look around. I said, I look like a special ops guy.
Right.
You look like a politician, and we all hate politicians. Right. And his eyes, I was like, right. So I'm in line. Dave and I are in line to get, like a beer or something like that. And there's this huge, and Aaron's a big guy and he's in front of me. And all of a sudden he turns around and we're both wearing a black suit, right? We're both wearing a purple striped shirt and we're both wearing like a gray tie.
Nice.
So it was like the weirdest thing. Like I've never met this guy before. And like, it's like my doppelganger because my beard was a lot shorter then. So, everything matched up. So we actually took a photo together. Guys were like, you look like you're twins. Like the first time I ever met the guy, it was like I discovered my long lost brother.
Yeah, he's fun, like, man.
Yeah,
he's a really good dude. He's a really good dude. I actually was just he hit me up on Facebook. I posted something about the new prototype I'm working on, and he's always giving me shit because he knows I'm into skill development, and that technical application comes after the skill, right?
Right.
He's always like, "Oh, see, you're making a new swing trainer," and it's like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
So, and actually, I forgot to mention that in our little intro. That's kind of how I got to this mindset. My instructing career really kicked off in Dallas, Texas, Lewisville, Texas, the Hank Haney Ranch.
Right.
Not the ranch, the headquarters. And after I left there, it was only a couple months, but got to expose me to some really great coaches, really good players, huge junior programs, everything that I kind of needed to set myself up as an instructor. And so I got back into the Washington, D.C. area thinking I was hot shit, and I wanted to do something for the vets, right? My whole family's military. We represent all the branches. My grandfather was, a commanding officer at Kodiak Island, Alaska, where my brother was eventually stationed as a coastie after he had retired. My grandfather actually procured a lot of the jet equipment for the Coast Guard when he was there. So like the French jets and stuff that they used. Yeah. My grandfather's the one that made the purchase.
Nice.
So anyways, like, military, right? Sacrifice. Those guys, they started coming back. I wanted to make sure I got involved. And I got involved with Salute Military Golf Association and Jim Estes up at the Olney Golf Park. At the time, they were doing PTSD clinics, and we were doing just the big group clinics, physical rehabilitation kind of deal, just getting them out and using golf as a means to rehabilitate, get back out, get competitive and stuff. And here I am thinking I'm hot stuff, having spent this grand 3 months in Dallas, Texas at the ranch, right? And, it just was like, how do I teach when I've got a guy who's got multiple amputations, one's below the knee, one's above the knee. Yep. He's got 2 fingers on one hand, fused vertebrae, whatever the case may be. Right? It's like, how do I break down this guy's physiology, like you were talking about, figure out how this system and sequence works, and then how can we implement a training program that's going to let this dude develop his skills when he can't apply the technical information that a lot of these coaches are pushing.
Right.
Yeah. You can't. So that's what shifted my mindset. So we're running out of time. I just got a thing real quick. We're going to hammer these off. This is fastball. You ready for fastball?
Have at it.
All right, here we go. You were about to get into it. Let's see here. Coach versus the instructor. I cut you off right before you got into that.
Yeah, I mean, most instructors, and there's nothing wrong with being an instructor, but like, that's what you are. Like, how many instructors, like, have you gone and see your students play? Have you caddied for them in an event? Have you walked the course with them and literally like, been the caddy at that point to really give them some coaching? Right. I mean, how much do you invest in that portion? Probably not a lot, which, and not everybody can, okay? Because listen, you got to make money, you have a full lesson book, maybe you're doing, maybe you're the guy that's, the range dog that's sitting there for 8-10 hours a day on the range. So, you can't do that. Now, again, is that a coach? No, you're an instructor. Again,
All right.
nothing.
So in your mind, what's the switch you got to flip to step from that instructor role to the coach role?
You got if
I
you're a
asked
coach,
that. Go
yeah,
ahead.
if you're a coach, you got to hit everything. I mean, it's not just the instruction. You got to hit, mental game. You got to hit nutrition. You got to hit fitness. Like you need to hit everything. Like when I was coaching college, that's what it is. I gave every player coming in got mental assessment profiles. So this way I could learn how they process information. If
Sure.
I don't know how my student processes information, how can I communicate effectively?
Right.
Then they would get a physical, then they would get a physical assessment, because if I don't know what their range of motion limitations are, or what their strengths are, how can I coach them, effectively, right?
Yeah.
So these are all the things. Now, if you're not doing this stuff, okay, I mean, are you a coach? Not to me,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be able to hit on all of these things.
Right. Right. And
If
I think you're dead on. I think the biggest thing that separates the instructor from the coach is trust. Okay. Because that trust relationship, when you're a coach, you're not there to just kind of pinpoint something that they can change and work on. You're helping build them up, man.
Yep.
That was one of the things I love doing. I love being the coach to the unteachable.
Right.
I love the unteachable.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
like the old ladies and the old guys that have dealt with injuries, that have gone to other instructors, and oh yeah, this top 100, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't care. And then get them lit back up, get them back out on the course and enjoying it, man. That's what I like. I like seeing the frustrated player go from frustrated and ready to throw their clubs into the pond
Yep.
to loving it and playing another time a week. And that's what it is, man. Once you develop that trust with a player, not only is
Yep.
their game going to improve, but if you're out there and this is your business, guess what? They're going to be in front of you a lot more often.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's shifting mindset too, isn't it? I mean,
Oh yeah,
I had a player at a conference championship, female player, right? One of the best I coached, won a couple conference championships, won 12 events or whatever, all this stuff. So she's sitting there and she gets up, she goes, "Hey coach, can you walk with me on this hole coming up?" And I go, "Sure." So we get up to the hole. She goes, "So now we're standing on a tee box." Okay. She goes, "I hate this hole." I'm like, "What hole?" She goes, "This hole." I'm like, "What hole are you talking about?" Right? Because I know I got to shift her mindset. Exactly. So she goes, "What are you like?" She goes, "Are you like messing with me? Like we're standing on a tee." I'm like, "Are you messing with me? I see a shot. I don't see a hole." Good. I said, "I see a shot." I said, "What do you have to do here?" She goes, "Well, I have to hit this 220. I said, "Okay, what do you hit 220? She goes, "I hit this." I'm like, "Then fine. Then pick that club and hit it." She did. She put it in the fairway, right? Next one, she goes, I'm like, "Now here's shot number 2. What do we have to do?" She goes, "I got to hit this between 160 and 170, get it on the top shelf." Okay. What are we picking? Is it uphill? Is it this? Is it that? We're talking through the shot. She picks it, puts it on the top of the ridge. She got about a 40-footer, right? She gets up there. I go, "Are you trying to make this?" She goes, "Well, I just want to lag it close. This is where I want to leave it because that shelf is kind of close." I'm like, "Great." So I'm like, "What do we have to do? We have to roll this, what, about 40 feet?" Yep. So I said, "Good, roll it 40 feet." She rolls it, leaves it a foot short, right? Taps it in. We walk off the green. I'm like, "I still don't know what was so hard about that." Right. I said, and she looked at me and I'm like, "You have to shift your mindset. Like you have to get this out of your head."
Isn't it funny how important perception is?
Oh my God, it's crazy. It's
because people will think
crazy.
Perception is truth, man. And if you really just evaluate how your brain's working and how you're thinking and maybe kind of a little positive talk.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I've heard recently, man. I've been hearing some of these coaches out here. I've heard there's no such thing as willpower, right? They're backing that up with science, right? And I'm first thing in my mind is like, well, if you sat down with some Rangers or some SEALs or something,
there's willpower.
Guess what, buddy? Like, the only reason you think willpower doesn't exist is because you've never had enough grit to fight through something that you thought would break you. Okay. And you were talking about it earlier with your guys in training, man. That's one of the marks of the champion, right? It's like the person who is not only willing to put themselves in adverse conditions, but purposely does it to see how far they can push their skills.
Right.
And what do you think? Do you think, are we missing the mark in that?
Oh my God. I think the golf industry is missing the mark in instruction in a lot of different ways. And the proof is pretty simple. I mean, you have people, here's the thing. You have people that want to get better, right? But don't always want to go to an instructor, right? Who do they go to? Oh, I spoke to my brother was telling me this, my brother-in-law was, "What does your brother do?" "Well, he's a butcher." "Well, shit, that makes sense. He should tell you about golf, right? And here's the other thing. I mean, look at the average handicap, right? The average handicap has not moved in how long?
No, and science and tech has gotten better, and our equipment has gotten better. I mean, I'm still waiting to hit my drive 600 yards after all the years of 15.
Right.
I mean, I should be pounding it past you by a football field, brother.
You should be.
So, oh God, I just had a brain fart. You said something there that was awesome, and I totally forgot. Totally forgot. And that is not what you want to say in the middle of an interview.
I feel like this is going to set up I feel like this is going to be like a series maybe of just interviews of like different topics. That's what I feel like.
No, this is exactly what it's going to be, man. And that's kind of what I want to offer, man. I want to get some different perspectives out there because there is only one voice. And that was what I was going to say. So the tips, the tricks, the golf digest articles and stuff like that, it's not to say that they're bad. Okay. But when we get this mainstream stuff, you and I and other instructors, hopefully, know how to apply, right? So it all comes down to application.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So you could see something that is a decent drill or a decent change or a decent thing to think about. But if you haven't properly analyzed yourself and you impart that into your practice and your training, that application could be detrimental to your game.
I mean, almost every drill I give somebody to improve is like a dynamic motion drill. You know, it's not static. It's not line. It's not, you have to draw this line. Your hand has to be from here to here. So let's just do that. This is where you should be. What do you, seriously? I mean, when you think about it, right, how many moving parts the golf swing has, now add in that the swing is never going to be the same. The lie is never going to be the same. The condition is never going to be the same. So for you to try to get the exact same motion every single time is ludicrous.
I'll tell you what. You got time to keep going?
I do.
All right, we got a minute and 21 seconds before I got to cut out this first part of it. Before we cut this out, you want to plug your company to book you for long drive events or clinics or anything like that? I will attest to you guys, he smokes a golf ball. So if you get the opportunity to have him out and race,
I hit for Charity Golf International. I mean, that's the company, CGI. So if you go to Charity Golf International, we got hitters all over the country and stuff like that. I mean, the guys do a great job. So if you got a charity event, I mean, honestly, it's a no-brainer. It's something that is going to bring in money, and it's something that is going to, add value to the event.
Awesome. All right. Well, what we'll do is when I wrap this up, I'll have you text me a link so that we can actually post that in the interview when I get this out onto the different channels.
Yeah, sure.
That way we can shoot some traffic your way. Cool. All right, I will we'll wrap this up real quick. Thank you for joining me. I'll hit you right back for the second part. You guys, this is going to be awesome. This is just the first installment, and I want to thank Michael for jumping on with us today. I can't wait to go back and listen to this because this is exactly what I wanted, man. I kind of just wanted to raise some questions, make some people think a little bit, and set the tone for what's coming. So
yeah, man, I always got time for you, brother.
All right, brother. We'll jump on for a couple more minutes, and thanks again, man.
You got it.